Bonjour French students, bienvenue au vidéo 6 du chapitre 6. Okay, so just to review from last time, do you remember that we talked about events that kind of happen at one moment in the past and events that happen kind of continuously in the past? That's what we looked at in this kind of set of couple of slides, une sortie, so going out, where Kathy speaks about a time that she went to have dinner with her friends and a time that she went out with her friends and how that experience was. So I went ahead and highlighted those verbs in different colors just to remind you of the two past tense verb tenses that we're talking about, le passé composé et l'imparfait. So just to kind of give you this reminder, okay, elle a dîné avec des amis, vous êtes sorti avec des amis. These are events that happened basically at one moment more or less in the past. And then you have the imparfait that sort of sets the scene for all of this. So, Cathy parle de la dernière fois qu'elle a dîné avec des amis, okay, that she went to have dinner with her friends. Et vous, la dernière fois que vous êtes sorti avec des amis, the last time that you went out with your friends, comment était la soirée? So I think if you sort of imagine the imparfait as kind of like a backdrop to everything else, or maybe like a bottom line where things are going on kind of continuously, and then the passé composé kind of comes in and happens at different points at the same time. It just doesn't last for the entire duration of time. So we saw that with some of these example sentences. So one example might be the first one. Quand j'ai quitté l'appartement, il pleuvait. So j'ai quitté happened at one moment, and we can highlight that in red. Okay. Il pleuvait. It was raining. So it was raining the entire time, right? But during that entire time that it was raining, she left her apartment. So one past event was going on for a while, and the other past event kind of happened in the middle of that. Okay, so now that we've reviewed that from our previous video, let's go ahead and take a look at some major differences between l'imparfait et le passé composé. So you've learned both tenses separately, and now it's kind of time to think more about when we choose one or when we choose the other. So, in French, the passé composé and imparfait convey different meanings, just like different past tenses in English do. We have a simple past tense. Now, I can even add in some examples here of this. So, for example, let's say I'm going to put this in a different color. I went to the store. Okay, I was going to the store. Maybe I could say, I did go to the store. Or even, I used to go to the store. All of them are in the past, right? I went, I was going, I did go, I used to go. I could even use would go as another option. I could say I did go or I would go to the store. So all of them are communicating something about past in English. And some of them kind of line up with passé composé or imparfait, but not always. So passé composé would probably be a lot more like I went to the store, where imparfait would be a whole lot like the others. I was going to the store, I did or would go to the store, or I used to go to the store. Okay. So the examples that they've given us here, when her husband came home, they kissed. So these are more like two passé composés put together. Okay, so when her husband came home, that happened at one moment, they kissed at one moment, and that's it. You could use passé composé to describe both of those things because they kind of happened sequentially. Or you could say, when her husband came home, they were kissing. So the husband came home at one moment, definitely would be a passé composé. they were kissing definitely would be an imparfait. And that sentence could have a couple of interpretations, couldn't it? It could sound like either the husband and the wife were doing the kissing, or he came home and caught her kissing somebody else. I guess both are possible, but the tenses would be different in those cases. Okay, so as it tells us here, we use the passé composé for a sequence of events that happened one after another, kind of like the first sentence. When her husband came home, they kissed. Okay, ce matin, j'ai quitté la maison. I left the house à midi et je suis arrivée à l'université à 12:20. Okay, so I left the house and I arrived at university at 12:20. So I left and I arrived. So we could describe two events in the past using passé composé because they are a sequence of events that happened one after another. Okay, let's take a look at some more examples. And we can also use these two tenses together when we're describing an action that's going on for some time, an action in progress, and then an action that interrupted that other action. So the examples we see here, le professeur parlait. Oh, the professor was speaking. Quand je suis entrée dans la salle de cours, when I entered the classroom. So he was talking. You can imagine this situation easily as a college student. Maybe you're late for class or something. The professor's talking. Things are going on. Actions are happening. And you're trying really hard to open that door and not make it squeak or something and interrupt the entire class. But you're doing that just at one short moment while the class is going on. Okay, you entered and that was the end of that. Okay, so you can see how one event can be an action in progress and another event can interrupt that action. Or, on jouait au foot. Okay, we were playing soccer quand Pierre est arrivé, when Pierre arrived. So everybody was playing soccer, they were having fun out there on the field, kicking the ball around, and then Pierre showed up. Il est arrivé. So again, an action that's going on for some time, and then something happened to interrupt that. All right, and finally, okay, we use imparfait to tell how things used to be or what was going on when something else occurred. So as we saw in those example sentences, the imparfait is used to describe continuing actions or states, whereas passé composé is used for actions that happened and were finished. Okay, so we're going to stop there for now. This can be a topic that can get a little hairy sometimes, but I think the examples here make it pretty clear when we use one and when we use the other. But when it actually comes to putting it into practice, even when you're speaking with somebody, you often have to think to yourself, okay, which is the better tense to use here? So the more practice you get with it, the more natural it becomes over time. Okay, so we'll finish up that topic for now in this video, but we will come back to it again in video 7. Okay, au revoir, à la prochaine!